My first memory of unions was when my dad went to a carpenter's union when I was four or 5 years old. I remember sitting on his lap, and it was in an ancient old building downtown Golden. And evidently they were fining scabs that night. And the guy had a big round piece of wood on a desk or a table and a big wooden hammer, and he would say $25 fine, and he'd smack that wood with that hammer. And they talked about rats. And so after the meeting was over, I asked my dad, why are they fining rats? What has rats got to do with it? Because I had this image of rats. And so then that's when he explained to me this was people who had scabbed on their union, and they were being fined for working non-union. And so that was my first exposure at 4 years old. Then later on, as I was growing up, he actually had scabbed on a strike because he drove home one night and his windshield was busted. And I asked him how his windshield got busted, and he said a guy threw a brick through it. And I said, why would he do that? And he said, because I crossed the picket line. And I said, why did you do that? And he said, so I could bring money home for you and your mother and the rest of you.
Yeah.
That was his attitude then.
So, because that's a lot of initiative on the part of a 13-year-old to go to the retail clerks and say, hey, you know, I need some help organizing.
Well,
where did that sense of response to injustice and
I don't know where it came from. It was there.
Confidence you can go do something about it?
It was always there. And then I was a voracious reader. And so I was reading about Cuba and the problems with Cuba and the problems with the African Americans in the southern part of the United States. And I was outraged by all of that. I just felt inside of me that was injustice and it was wrong, and everybody should do what they could to fight that. So I had a strong feeling of that. I don't know if I got that from my grandfather or where it come from, but it was always there. It still is to this day. I hate injustice, and I want to right injustice. I don't like what's happening today in this country. It's almost worse than it was when I got started as a young person.